She's been engrossed in the world of talent and social media for over 11 years. She founded her own company called Flip Management. In May, spending 4.5 years as VP of Talent at Big Frame, Hollywood's first talent management company to focus on next-generation talent. Lisa's roster includes clients such as, Tyler Oakley, Ingrid Nielsen, Aspyn Ovard, Kian Lawley, and Amanda Steele. Kian's big, huh? All right. She's been integral to shaping the industry of representation within the digital sector, having done several first-of-their-kind partnerships and was named to the Hollywood Reporter's Next Generation list in 2015. Lisa began her career as a casting assistant at Nickelodeon and then transitioned into a role as an agent trainee in the commercial endorsements department at CAA. Give it up for Lisa! Come on, guys. You can do better than that. Give it to her.
Hi. How are you?
Great.
Hi,
and
guys.
by the way, she did one of our Meet the Mentor interviews, so you can go back and look at those and see what we talked about.
Oh, man. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Excellent. It's good. It's a busy week for me. I really want to keep this informal. I feel like everybody always has a million questions, so I want to answer as many questions as I possibly can for you. Bill gave a pretty good introduction of what I do, but I'll give you a bit of background of where I come from. I am from a very small town in Pennsylvania called Dover. 2,000 people live there, and that's it. I ended up majoring in dance in college, which seems like a weird path, but I really loved the arts. I grew up taking 1 million dance classes, and I got a scholarship, and that's the only way I could go to college because I grew up pretty broke. So my parents didn't pay for college. I'm actually still paying for college right now, which I could pay off, but because of financial reasons, you don't have to right away because interest rates are low. So I ended up in casting when I was a senior at DeSales University, and I loved it. I was at Nickelodeon. I thought it was really cool. I worked on Team Umizoomi and Bubble Guppy, so if you are a very young person, you know what that is. And then I worked on Degrassi when Aubrey Graham was on Degrassi. If you don't know Aubrey Graham, his name is Drake now. We got stuck in an elevator once. It was great. And then I ended up over at CAA in the commercial endorsements department during the writer's strike is when I started. And then I got to work with some really amazing, incredible talent like George Clooney and Julia Roberts and Kate Winslet and blah, 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 blah. I ended up falling into the digital space about 5 years ago when this wasn't a job. I met Tyler a week into my job at Big Frame, and I was like, I'm going to make you a star. And he was like, sure you are. And then here we are. So I've worked with all of my creators for a really long time. We have tried to pioneer the industry to really think about how you can take a YouTube channel and make it like a full-time career job. I don't think any of us expected it to grow the way that it has. The first deal I worked on for Tyler was $500, and we were both freaking out. We're like, oh, this could be a really long ride, but it has completely changed, and there's tons of YouTube stars. Started working with Ingrid Nielsen, started working with Amanda Steele, and Amanda Steele's in New York shooting for Marc Jacobs right now, which is great. And Kian just wrapped 3 different movies, and I have a meeting with JC right after this, so I have to leave ASAP. So it's been kind of a wild ride, and I would really love to hear what you guys would like to know from me, because I can just stand up here and talk all day about nothing, or I can give you some advice or wisdom. I'm not allowed to say swear words, so I'm very nervous about speaking. So if you guys have questions, I will just start answering them. Yes? So the hardest part right now is saturation. There are 1 million people on each platform doing it every single day. You want to be unique, but you want to be authentic to yourself. I think staying really true to who you are is the key thing. Also, numbers sort of just don't really matter as long as you're doing what you want to be doing. But it is a really hard market to break into, so you want to think about how you're differentiating yourself from everybody else without going so far out of your own comfort zone, because people will notice inauthenticity for sure. Okay, sure. Want to go right there? Hi. Close.
Hello? Oh, there we go.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Grace, and I was wondering, how do you build a personal brand on social media where it's not your full-time job, you're not looking for it to be your full-time job, but especially in nowadays where social media is almost an extension of your application and your person, how do you build a consistent brand and keep it going?
And this is as like if you were to be like an executive or just like a personal, like a just who you are?
Just as an individual on the job field. And because now it's becoming more and more where people are asking for social media handles when we apply.
Yeah. Whoa. Really?
Yeah.
That's wild. I think it was funny. I had this conversation with somebody who used to work for me who's now at CIA, and he was like, I don't trust anybody in the digital field who doesn't have a social media presence. And I was like, oh, that's actually really true. I think as long as you're talking about things that are topical to you and like you'll know what you can say and what you can't say, I do sometimes go towards more political and controversial topics, which I think I'm allowed to do farther into my career. And like, I work for myself, so I can't get fired. But when you want to sort of err on the side of caution, I think it's okay to be vocal about issues, to care about stuff, but just be mindful that someone is always looking at it. If your mom and dad or parents or family members are seeing it, you want them to be okay with it. I think that's always a good gauge. Like, would my mom be okay with this? Back there?
What's your favorite thing about what you do as your job?
It changes every day. I literally never know what's going to happen every day that I wake up. And it's always different. Because this industry has never been done before, because majority of the deals that we work on have never been done before, we get to construct them from scratch. Most of my talent are really unique and interesting people. So it's really great to just be part of that journey with them. So I love that.
I have some questions.
Oh, God.
Come here.
Okay.
Right up here. Stand up here with me so these guys can all see you. Okay. So you really created a whole new industry. I mean, this didn't exist to the extent that it did. What gave you the incentive to do that?
Well, there was no incentive at the time because there wasn't really a way to monetize what we were doing at the time. I think it was just an interest. I liked the people that I was meeting. I liked the industry, that it was new. It was unprecedented. Nobody had done it before. We had so much opportunity to do whatever we wanted, and so we were able to just really go out there and accomplish so much without any rules.
So with all the stuff you've done with Tyler, give these guys some examples of some of like your big successes. Like this was a big hit. And I mean, I know that life isn't all about money and making money, but it would be nice to have a career where you can monetize things and be able to live a comfortable life. So if you can comfortably tell them, you know, the kinds of deals that you've done and what they're worth, I think that they'd be interested. Yes?
Is this going anywhere, or is it just for this room only?
If you don't want it to, it won't.
Okay.
So are you guys live streaming? Just stop live streaming, and this will just be for Leap. We have this thing that they know about forum confidentiality.
Okay.
So trust me.
I'll disclose a couple of things,
yeah.
but like they're all super confidential and private. So when we did Tyler's book deal, it was the single biggest celebrity book deal that year. It was bigger than Amy Poehler's book deal. And then he sold 450,000 copies. The average celebrity book sells anywhere from 100 to 200,000 copies, and that's considered a huge win. So we really blew that out of the water. Ingrid's first major deal was with CoverGirl. She was the first CoverGirl ambassador from the internet. We did that deal for 2 years. At the same time, she had another deal going with Procter & Gamble. With Unilever. So CoverGirl, Procter & Gamble owns CoverGirl, and then Unilever is their largest competitor. Ingrid had a deal with both Procter & Gamble through CoverGirl and then Unilever for hair care. Each of those equated to a multiple $million-dollar deal. And it had never been done before where a person was working with two of the biggest competitors in the entire space. So she was doing hair care with Unilever and then CoverGirl with P&G. So it was really kind of crazy that all happened.
So do me back it up.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? You know what I mean? Like you laid a groundwork to get her to there. Tell them how they did it, because you never know. You may have your next one out there, right?
Yeah, I know. Literally my assistant was like, if there are interns, please have them apply. We desperately need them. So if you want to come work for me, feel free. We'll talk about Tyler's book because that's like, it was a 3-year process of just getting it done. Within Tyler and I starting sort of our journey together, the first thing we did was I started representing him in August of 2012. In September, we flew to New York. I had about $1,000 in my bank account. I paid for my own plane ticket. He and I shared a hotel room. We shared a bed because we both didn't have any money and we didn't know what we were doing. We took a bunch of general meetings with book publishers and book managers. I actually had a book manager stand me up. I got to his office and he was not there. I got some retribution when a year ago I saw that guy and he was like, my single biggest regret was not attending that meeting because it was the first YouTuber that was being taken around to do a book deal. And you guys probably know this if you're familiar with the space at all. Everybody has a book deal. It's like the easiest thing to get for a YouTuber. Like, everybody has a book deal. And this was 5 years ago, and no one had a book deal. And so it was a really long process of talking with Tyler about what was he going to write about, what was his story going to be. He didn't think he had a story to tell because he was like, I don't want to write a memoir. I'm 25. I've not lived any life. So he just told funny stories, and he's a really great writer, and he's super, super smart. And so it was able to work really well. With Ingrid and working with some of these brands, because I had so much experience at CAA in the endorsement department, I stayed in touch with a lot of the contacts. So I stayed in touch with all of the buyers that I had previously worked with, from the P&Gs to the Unilevers, J&J, and every other talent buyer. So the way that all of this works is these talent buyers work with the brands, and then they find talent, and then they insert the talent into the branded campaign. And I was like, I'm doing this very weird job. I'm representing YouTube stars. And they were like, okay, that's super weird. I was like, your brands are going to need me eventually. Keep my contact information. I'm going to update you from time to time. And when they say we need to work with influencers, I'm going to be your first call. And I was their first call. So we were able to do that really big deal with Ingrid because they didn't know who else to call. So it was just a matter of maintaining relationships, talking to people all the time, and letting them know what you're sort of up to. We like to do a lot of education with what it is that we're doing. I spend a lot of time going to a lot of places being like, this is what I do, this is why it matters, here's the data that backs all of it up. So we try to be data-driven as well, understanding subscriber number, engagement rate, growth, all of that. And then on the other side, explaining sort of the reach and power of the creator as well, understanding their demographics, knowing what territories they're reaching into. We're routing a tour for Tyler right now in Australia, and we're doing it based on the metric data of his YouTube channel and his Instagram following. We're like, we know what cities to go to because of who's watching him on the internet, which has been great.
And so he's going to go on this tour doing what?
It'll be a variety show. He's going with Grace Helbig and Mamrie Hart, and I don't know, they'll probably just mess around on stage and be idiots.
Okay. All right. Rob.
Hi, Rob.
How's it going? Oh. Hey. Quick question on, I guess, how did you find the courage, essentially, to go out of the norm and pretty much start a whole industry?
It's really funny. I was talking about this with my fiance the other day because he's in an artistic field and it's so difficult. And when I decided to stop dancing professionally and start pursuing a more traditional path, it was because I couldn't see myself as I couldn't see myself succeeding as a dancer, and I felt like I couldn't not be successful. I knew that if I was just focused and worked so hard every day, I'd be really successful. I knew that if I believed in this industry and if these people had somebody championing for them, we would all win. There is an immaturity in the space that I work in. There are a number of idiots, both in front of and behind the scenes. It's a really hard job. I knew that because of my skill set and my training and everything that I had learned, I was gonna be set up for success. I also I don't sleep. I'm very focused. I work so hard. I never say no. I have found so much that people are just not willing to put in the time, the effort, or the energy to work really hard, which is always super frustrating for me. Because I just couldn't, I had an assistant once, and I was coming into the office, and Tyler and I pulled an all-nighter working on his book. I was literally up until 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had a 9 a.m. staff meeting, so I went home at 5. I showered really quick, and I was back in the office by 8 a.m. And I called my assistant. I was like, hey, do you mind running to Starbucks to grab me a coffee? And she goes, it's raining. And I was like, are you kidding me? She was like, I can make you a cup of coffee here. And I was like, no. You're going to go to Starbucks and you're going to get me a cup of coffee. Like, that's what I want. So it's like this idea that you can say no to the person that you're working for. Like, I just never said no to anybody ever. I just worked really, really, really hard. I did online traffic school for my boss. Like, I picked up his kids' gifts for their bat mitzvahs. Like, you have to work so hard. I started working when I was 13 years old. I became financially independent when I was 15. So like I was never afraid to work. My parents didn't go to college. I didn't know anything about college. I think I had a drive that was really different. And I knew I have no plan B. If this all falls apart, like I'm screwed. And so like this can't fall apart. It has to work. So it will. And that has been just like my focus the whole time.
How do you pick your talent? I mean, there's a gazillion people that want to be Tyler. There's a gazillion people, and they all think that they have something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you get bombarded with people that think they're like the next big thing.
Yeah.
How do you look at people and say, no, that one's going to make it?
It's a lot of instinct, which I feel is like such a corny thing to say, but I have grown up around watching talent and like seeing what great talent is. When you watch a channel, I think there's certain people that you look at and you're like, okay, that's something I can build a business around. There's certain people who I look at too that I'm like, they're just gonna live on YouTube forever and like that's it. But anybody who wants to build a business that's broader than that and you can sort of see it for them, it's so hard to say without like, there's just this thing when you watch somebody you just become like in love with them and you feel so deeply and personally connected to them that makes it really exciting for me. Like I actually, when I started working with Kian, I really didn't want to. He had such a bad reputation. He was a pain in the butt. And I was like, not for me. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it. And then I met him, and he's like the sweetest guy. And I had passed on him based on his content. So every now and then a creator will surprise me, and I'll be like, oh my God, you're just like a sweet kid who's like a 13-year-old boy. That's all. Like I just had to spend time with him and realize and he like just takes advantage of me every single day now. But he's great, and he's super, super, super talented. And I saw him in a movie called Shovel Buddies, and it was his first film, and I found out he had no acting classes, and I was like, oh my God. And it was so long since I saw somebody just like really raw talent and sort of understanding what talent means, because it's different for a lot of people. Like you can go into any room with Tyler and he is just like a force. Like you can't deny that he's just like brilliant and cool and like awesome. And like even with Ingrid, she's just so smart and eloquent. And like Amanda, she just like walks in a room and everybody's like, it's just one of those things that it's really, really hard to explain. But I think for any big talent or celebrity that you love, you like can't, they're a presence, they're a force.
And then the idea is to take that force, put their name behind products, and sell products.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's movies, sometimes it's products, sometimes it's television show, not television. I mean, television as it exists now, which is not what we really think of it. Your phone is a TV, so yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
Like when you first started choosing, when you first decided to like pursue this and like take YouTubers and like make them more famous than they already are, out of every YouTuber you chose, why did you specifically choose Tyler Oakley?
I met Tyler so early in my career. He had 100,000 subscribers on YouTube when I met him. We had this lunch. I took him to the Chateau Marmont, and he had like just moved from San Francisco, and I was like just coming from CAA. I was like wearing a suit, and he was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I am gonna just like do everything for you." I saw one of his videos. It was the Nicki Minaj video where he was lip syncing "I'm a Bad Bee," and I just thought it was like so dumb and hilarious. And then I watched another one that he made on One Direction. And I was just like, "Oh, this is funny! Like I get this." And so we like sort of gravitated towards each other. He thought I was a lunatic. I thought he was adorable, and now we both are in this like for the long haul.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Nadia, and
Hello.
oh, I'm sorry. As an aspiring YouTuber and actress, what are your advice for utilizing social media to take your career further in YouTube or like acting in movies and stuff like that?
Focus on you specifically. I think one of the things that people get bogged down in, especially on social media, is looking at everybody else. I used this analogy with a client once. Michael Phelps did this race against this guy, and they had 2 preliminaries where Michael Phelps lost. And then during the main race, the guy who he's competing against kept looking over into Michael Phelps' lane, and then he lost, and Michael Phelps won. And I was like, that is an analogy for everything in your life. Stay in your lane. Drive forward, focus on you, don't look around. If you start looking at competitors and thinking you need to be this or you need to be that and you're not focused solely on yourself, you're going to really miss the mark. Go ahead, because you have the mic.
All right, Connor.
Hi, I'm Connor from Perth, Western Australia.
Hello.
And my question is, when you realized that you wanted to do talent management, how did you kind of go about learning the resources for getting the deals done? Mm-hmm. Did you read books about it, or did you kind of have mentors? Yeah,
I had really great mentors at CAA. It was such a great training ground for me. I had really good people there. I had a really great mentor at Big Frame as well, named Sarah Penna, who had founded the company. So it was just having people around me. I also read the trades every single day, so Hollywood Reporter and Variety. I just read them all the time and consumed as much as I could. I studied sort of deals that were going on as well, when the WME merger happened. I remember reading so much about how William Morris bought out Endeavor, and I remember reading so much about when WME acquired IMG, and then when IMG acquired the UFC and WWE, looking at all of that, understanding the data and the details behind it. It was a lot of just I read a ton. So that has really helped me. There weren't any specific books. I love Stephen Covey's Hayley. What are the 7 Habits? Thank you. So that one is a really great book that I read in college and just still bookmark and read all the time.
Thank you.
Awesome. You know what? We're all done. You
And I think
guys
I'm
were
out
out
of
of time. Let's give it up for Lisa.
Thanks, guys.
Lisa, thanks.
Thank you. I will